Had a fantastic base race at the end, and I kind of want to throw it out there. How do you lose a base race with 280 carries on your team?
Well, what happened was they didn't really take advantage of the mid game with the 280 carries. They didn't push the turrets as soon as they could, even though there were like uncontested turret kills, which it really confused me. But I'm pretty sure Cognitive Gaming didn't go into like pushing mid thinking it was a base race. It was more so they didn't want to fight Baron, and they noticed most of their team was top, so they just looked for the free in-hit to trade to make the best out of the situation. But Curse kind of outplayed him by leaving Draven there, who farmed up to like 4 or 5, maybe 6 items. I don't remember what he had, but then they sent the front line at him, and they just pretty much were meat shields and absorbed all their damage. So Draven was able to take the base in time.
Yeah, very good from Cop stepping up there to finish it, because Curse was 1 game down and picks and bans throughout game 1 and 2, and you especially had something to say about that Needle pick for Voyboy in game 1.
I don't get it. I don't understand why they picked Needly in game 1. You know, the rest of the composition wrapped around, to wrap it up, they had Mundo, Annie, and Renekton, right? Sort of go in, those types of champions. And the Needly was picked into a Leona and Vi. And one of the best things against a pokey champion is a hard engage, with which both Leona and Vi have. So I feel like that was a little bit of a derp moment for Curse. In the game themselves, Curse also then struggled to win team fights. Cognitive simply won multiple dragon fights, and Curse were really struggling to get into the groove. I'm wondering if it isn't a tension thing or a nerves thing being on the stage, because these guys are basically fighting for their life in the LCS. You know, they're playing to not lose as opposed to playing to win, potentially.
Talking about picks and bans, and I Will Dominate mentioned that if you lose that first game, you have to adapt going into the next one. I kind of feel like they went for a reactionary comp, as Freak hinted at as well, 2 times, and on the other side, they had a Sivir that go in, a Vi that can go in really hard. And don't you expect from a team like Curse, who has the members on it that are supposed to be more experienced, that they choose something that just goes for it more?
I also think they need to make use of the champions that they do have. You know, they did have an Annie in the previous game, and their team fights just weren't crisp enough. You know, in this particular matchup, they had that the Dr. Mundo and the Shyvana, and it took them 32 minutes to really do anything with it. It was just a farm fest. They just stuck in their lanes the whole time.
Yeah. Benny, what I kind of wanted to hint at with you is the top lane matchup. Of course, a lot of people have said this Quaz can be the best top laner in North America, if not in other regions as well. And going up against Chris, X Velocity, of course, how do you feel that matchup has played out up till now?
Like, I definitely have both respect for both players. Quaz, although I haven't laned against him, he seems really solid, like a really smart laner in general, and his team fights are really good. The only thing that confused me was that in game 1, he decided to build more of a squishy Renekton, and because of that, he died instantly in team fights. And I feel like he learned his lesson this game when he went full tank Shyvana and just able to just tank everything and just become a menace in team fights.
It worked in his favor, that's for sure.
It absolutely did.
I've got a question about the double AD comp from Cognitive. Because, you know, they locked in that Sivir. We were sitting upstairs, and as soon as Sivir was locked in, Jat mentioned that's going to be mid lane Sivir. Right. They then locked in the Lucian later. And, you know, traditionally when we see these double ADs, they tend to hit a power spike in the mid game, push towers, roam, and try to win the game by sort of 30 minutes on the clock. But Cognitive never made moves for towers. I think they got their first tower at like 14 and a half or 15 minutes, like which is insanely slow if you've got 2 ADs.
I honestly don't have too much to comment on that. It feels like it was a lack of resolve where they picked the comp. I don't know if they picked like Sivir and Lucian just simply because they're like the 2 of the strongest AD carries right now, or maybe it was more so for a curveball. But they could have easily taken Sivir or taken advantage of Sivir's ultimate and like force mid game engages or just take towers and just disengage.
Quite different stories here from game 1 going into game 2. Now going into game 3, what do you guys think? How's it going to play out? Curse or Cognitive?
I think if Curse can have a better pick and ban phase like they did game 2, I think that'll play in their favor. But both of the teams have had little hiccups during picks and bans, and I think both teams will need to stabilize for this match.
Benny?
Yeah, I feel like it's, in terms of like the skill, just the skill levels of both teams are very similar, but what I've noticed is just like the team compositions that made the hugest difference. Where the first game, like you said, that the Nilly pick didn't really make sense, and then this time, Cog picked 280 carries into 2 super meat shields and didn't do anything with it.
All right, thank you very much, guys. Now let's send it across the studio to Freak.